Welcome to the Boneyard with Steve Robertson. As always, I am your good friend and host, Steve Robertson, here on the Monday edition of the Yard. A little bit later than I wanted to be, but it's been a busy day. Has been. Mondays are typically like that. They stacked up a lot of press conferences on us today. Not complaining gives us a lot of opportunity for some content, and we can kind of spread that out over the next couple of days. You can go read all that for free at genespage.com. We always make the big room stuff free because everybody has it, right? There's no point in putting a VIP label on that, making you pay for something that everybody else has. So you can watch videos in their entirety, or you can read the transcript or an article, whatever, for free anytime there's a press conference over at genespage.com. And we'll have it up more times than not before anybody else. But anyway, yeah, it's been a busy day. A lot to talk about today. It was not a good weekend for us in basketball. Missouri sweeps both games from us. We'll talk about that today. We'll talk about what we learned during our baseball media opportunity. Got a Grammy top 10 list for whatever they're calling it these days. Got a lot I could say about the Grammys, but and I don't mean about any political statements, but just kind of the way that whole thing is run. Of course, it always goes back to the Jethro Tull thing with Metallica. It's hard to take people seriously that choose so poorly. I mean, it really, really, really is. We'll talk a little football stuff too, and you never know what we may get into before we get out of here. So I want to thank you guys for being with us. And for those of you that are still struggling with the winter weather, and there's talk about another winter storm coming in next weekend as we open up college baseball season. We hope that's not the case, but the advanced, I hate to call it a forecast, but the advanced models make it look like perhaps some more winter precipitation is coming to the Magnolia State and to the greater Southeast. So we got some people out there that are struggling. I read earlier, at first I thought maybe it was one of these AI things, so I was hesitant, and then I began to see other media entities that reference it, that 500 generators, like Elon Musk is sending 500 generators to Tippah County. We've talked about them extensively on the show. We have friends there. We have people that we love there that are really dealing with some difficult circumstances. And I bring this up because I think it's important that we have some context. Guys, if I'm having to sleep in the cold, and all the food in my fridge and my freezer is ruined, and my children are suffering, I don't care where help comes from. I absolutely do not care. It's so easy as you live and sleep in your warm bed to go jump on Facebook and make some political statement that absolutely serves no one any benefit. It's silly. And that's the kind of stuff, to be honest with you, my wife always tells me, you let stuff get to you, you shouldn't. This is one of those things that kind of gets to me. I mean, honest to goodness, this is one of those things that kind of gets to me. When people are suffering, when people are having to navigate life without utilities, when your children are struggling, and somebody offers to help, and then people are critical of that, that says more about the critic than it does anybody else. If you are sleeping in frigid temperatures within your home and you have no ability to entertain your children, you have no ability to keep food in your home, then I might listen to some of that. I'm not going to listen to that sort of stuff and let it go unclaimed. And it's just, there's so many people out there that need to go sit down and talk to somebody, right? And you know what's so interesting too is, like, I think back over my life about, you know, how many administrations have been in charge when good things have happened in my lives and in my life, and it's been people from both sides of the aisle, right? When you're struggling, you know, it's like the old adage: any port in a storm, you do what you have to do to take care of your family. Period. Just how life works and how it should. And again, it's easy to be the critic, you know, when you're not impacted by this. But I reached out to Miss Frances and Miss Mitzi, Dudy Noble's nieces, of course, that were so incredibly kind to me during the writing process of The Dude, the biography of Dudy Noble. And they feel like family to me. And this weekend, I saw some reports about how bad things were in Batesville, so I messaged both of them and just wanted to check on them. And both of them just so well received. They're just like, Steve, thank you so much for thinking of us. And that's such a small thing. But man, that's one of the things that I have learned about life is people want to know that they matter to you. People want to know in times of trouble and in times of celebration that you're thinking of them. Right? And, it's a thing I've thought about too, like our friends in Tippah County. Goodness, if I thought I could get to them, I would. Right? But the thing that I keep hearing is like in these very sparsely populated, very rural areas, it's almost impossible, even now, almost 2 weeks later, to get to some areas. And they're still down power lines and things of that nature and a lot of encumbrances out there. So you wish you could do more. And when other people are doing more, that should be celebrated, not criticized. And again, I don't care what side of the aisle that you align yourself with. I don't care who you voted for. I don't judge you based on your voting record. I judge you on the kind of person you are. And the truth of the matter is, I don't even judge you on that. I accept you as you are, not as I would have you to be. And I think that's one of the most important things that recovery has taught me is to live and let live. Live and let live. And man, I tell you, I was so judgmental in my 20s. Oh my gosh, I was so judgmental. I look back and I'm embarrassed about some of the stances that I had back then, truthfully. But I know this. I know that if my family didn't have lights or power or a way to heat our home, and somebody showed up and said, hey man, here's a generator, I would be so incredibly grateful for that. It wouldn't change how I voted, but it would change the quality of my life for a little while until, maybe the power company can kind of get things worked out. And I don't think that we fully appreciate the challenges that those people are having. I've read other stuff about Nashville, and I agree. I don't know the job, but I know that it seems a little bit unrealistic that people should be without power for as much as 10 more days, especially in a major city like that. I kind of understand a little bit when you got people that live so far out in the country, you got to pump sunshine to them, right? I mean, I understand that aspect of it. But the reality of it is we got some people out there doing a very difficult job that you and I don't want to do. And they're dealing with some very difficult circumstances. And could it have been managed better? Absolutely. I think that's a fair assessment. I think we could all agree. Things could have and should have been managed better. But in no way does it say anything about somebody that's struggling to accept help, right? It's just as simple as that. Help from any direction is a wonderful thing, and especially when there's kids involved. And like I've read these stories too about older people that many of them just kind of want to tough it out, and like people are going and checking on them. It's like, Mom, you can't do this. Grandma, we got to get you out of here, The conditions that some people are willing to live in just because they don't want to be in imposition sometimes are pretty incredible. So I love each and every one of you, despite our faults, your faults, my faults, and I hope you love me back, but if you don't, it's okay. I love you anyway. I do. And I don't want you to go to bed hungry, and I don't want you to go to bed cold tonight. And that's one of those things that moments like these kind of drive that home to us, right? What really matters is people, not politics. None of that stuff really matters anyway. That's one of the things. If we've never learned anything from Freddie Mercury, is that nothing really matters. Anyone can see. Nothing really matters. It's about people. Let's thank our friends at Bulldog Burger Company, longtime sponsors of this show. Man, I love them too. I do. I love it. I would love them even if they didn't sponsor the show. I never get tired of Bulldog Burger Company. There's some places you go, and it's like, well, I'm just so kind of burnt out. I never get burnt out because the menu is so incredible. There's so much versatility and diversity within that menu. Some days I'm feeling a salad. I can go have that BLT salad. I like it grilled. You may like it fried. I'm not judging, right? It's true. But most days when I go, it's because I'm craving a great restaurant quality hamburger. I encourage you, the next time that you get one of those cravings, you be sure and fulfill that craving at Bulldog Burger Company. They have 3 great locations to serve you: University Drive in Stark Vegas, Gloucester Street there in Tupelo, Lake Harbor Drive in the Ridge and Flowwood area. Have the spring rolls as your appetizer. They'll make you and everybody around you better looking. And I'm just going to be honest with you. Valentine's Day is coming up. Don't wait to the Valentine's Day dinner to have a spring roll or 2 or 5. Some of you need to go ahead and prepare for that now. Go ahead, maybe have just these spring rolls as your entree for a couple of days before Valentine's, so you can be looking your best for that Valentine's Day date. Get that chocolate shake to go. You can ride that ride home with a smile. Bulldog Burger Company, the place where people go to meet. M-E-A-T. Okay. Let's open up a little baseball stuff. And so incredibly grateful to Logan Lowry and everybody involved at Mississippi State for putting this media day together for us. We had Coach O'Connor for a while, and we had 8 players. And again, we'll filter that content out. We got about half of it written today. We'll get the other half tomorrow. And so, again, you can kind of read that stuff or view it for free. Videos are already up. Like if you can't wait for the printed article, you can go ahead and watch videos. All those are up. I took care of those myself. But the thing that I would say, like the big takeaway for me after listening to Brian O'Connor is there is a quiet confidence within this team. And I think and I believe that like our returning players have impressed the new staff. You know, that core group of guys. And there's a reason they were at Mississippi State in the first place. It's not like Brian O'Connor has shown up with the cupboard bare and then we had to go out there and just kind of rebuild a roster. That's not the case at all. And there's some people out there in the National College Baseball media that'll tell you, Mississippi State's kind of got a super team, kind of got an all-star team. And H. Reese kind of touched on that too. He goes, no matter what the lineup looks like, we're going to hit. And I think that's an important aspect of developing pitchers too. When you're going to be pitching against one of the better lineups in college baseball, in your inter-squad scrimmages, you're going to get better. If you're a competitor at all, you're going to get better. I asked O'Connor, first question out of the gate was about position battles. And he goes, hey, kind of got an idea of how things are going to go, but there's still some competitions going on. And that's going to linger on between the season. There were a couple players that he personally kind of singled out. Reed Stallman. And that's probably not a name that you guys maybe expected. He talked about he and James Nunnally transferring from Virginia, who I think will probably be the starting right fielder. We'll see how things go. But he said that those two guys had been the most consistent during the spring scrimmages. Now, we haven't had a chance to see them. We'll see them this weekend, and we're looking forward to doing that. Press row won't be open, so we'll be out there hanging with you guys. But it's one of those things that you just look at it and you think about. To me, that's one of the better things that I've heard because we know about Ace Reese and Noah Sullivan and Aiden Teal, and we got a pretty good idea what they bring to the table. And then you find out that Reed Stallman, who was working some at each corner outfield spot and at first base, has been a very consistent performer over the course of the last few weeks. That's good. Yeah. And again, James Nunnally was a guy that played some as a freshman last year. ACC pitching may not be consistently on the level of the SEC, but it's close. I would say staff-wise, it's probably number 2 conference-wise, and so it's not like there's some huge jump. It's not like that he's been, playing FCS baseball or, playing, seeing Sunday Sunbelt pitchers, right? All due respect to the Sunbelt, and there's some good teams out there, but you know what I'm saying. The reality of it is he's faced good pitching. So two guys that maybe hadn't made a lot of headlines and maybe didn't make a lot of people's seasonal preview get singled out by the skipper on day one. I think that's an important aspect of it. We didn't get a chance to ask a lot of questions. We got some in. O'Connor is very thorough in his answers. He is a guy that really wants to make sure he gets his message out there. I think it's interesting. We got 4 pitchers and 4 positional players. Now, the positional guys, Aiden Teal, who will be your starting center fielder, Bryce Chance, who I believe will be your starting left fielder, guy that won the Diamond Dog Challenge. Ace Reese will be your starting third baseman. And then Noah Sullivan, not exactly sure where he's going to play. If he's going to DH, if he's going to play first base, not exactly sure. But he's going to be involved. Then your pitchers. Thomas Valenkus, Ryan McPherson, Ben Davis, Charlie Foster. I believe 3 of those 4 are going to be your weekend starters. If I had to pick it today, I would say, and I think it's Tomas Valenkas. I mean, he's a Lithuanian family, but he goes by both. We joked about it when he got ready to leave today. I think he's your Friday night guy. I think McPherson is Saturday and Foster on Sunday. I think Ben Davis is probably the first guy out of the pen when you need him. And I think Ben does better out of the pen. He had a couple of good starts last year, but I think he just kind of has more of a relief. Maybe you've heard Mississippi State's own Charles Cross of the Seattle Seahawks playing in the Super Bowl. How about that? Another Bulldog possibly getting the ring here. Super Bowl is here, and that's where MyBookie helps you turn bets into bankroll. Everybody's watching the game. Everybody's got a take. Everybody's got a 7-layer dip recipe. And this is the one game where props matter just as much as the final score. That's why so many people use MyBookie. Their Super Bowl prop board is deep and fun to play. It's the same reason they get talked about on Jimmy Kimmel Live every year when this game rolls around. If there was ever time to get in, it's now. One account, one wallet, bet the spread, live bet the second half, hit the casino during commercials. It all lives in one place. Go to mybookie.ag now and use promo code BONEYARD and get your first bet covered up to $500. That's right. If it doesn't hit, use your bet back bonus token and run it back. Don't just watch the big game, make it pay with MyBookie. This episode is brought to you by BetterHelp. Sometimes it can feel like everybody else has it all together when it comes to their love lives. Whether you're married, dating, or single, the truth is most of us are still figuring it out as we go. No matter where you are in your own romantic journey, therapy can help you find your way, help you determine what you want, what feels heavy, and how maybe you could take some of the pressure off yourself. We get it. February's full of flowers, candy, candlelight dinner, stuffed animals, and of course, lots of talk about relationships and dating. You may feel left out. And no matter where you are, whether you're married, dating, or single, or just focusing on yourself, you're right on time. Therapy can help you find your way and see more clearly where you want to be. BetterHelp therapists work according to a strict code of conduct and are fully licensed in the United States. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences, and their 12-plus years of experience and industry-leading match fulfillment rate means they typically get it right the first time. But if you aren't happy with your match, switch. You can find a different therapist at any time from our tailored recommendations. BetterHelp. This episode is brought to you by Kalshi, the largest prediction market in the United States. Kalshi allows users to trade event contracts peer-to-peer rather than playing against a sports book. It's available across the country, including California and Texas. Download the Kalshi app and use code SB60 to get $10 when you trade $10. Make a trade, make things happen, have fun. You have so many things you can predict. It's very, very simple. Kalshi is the largest prediction market in the country, if we've talked about, and you can trade on whether things will or won't happen. Will a certain coach get fired? Will they be retained? Well, you can get some skin in the game. Forget against playing against the house. Kalshi is peer-to-peer trading, and basically, to break it down, is you buy a yes contract. If you think an event like the Seahawks may win the Super Bowl, right? Will Shinedown release a new album in 2027? Will P. Diddy get pardoned? You get a no contract if you think those things won't happen. So it's really kind of pass-fail. You're trading with other users similar to buying or selling a stock, and you can jump in or out of your position at any time to lock in a profit or cut your losses. You get a chance to maximize your potential payout with combos, multiplying your winnings by correctly predicting multiple events across different areas. Users have to deposit $10 on a trade, and then you're rewarded $10. Download the Kalshi app and be ready to roll. Simple as that. Get some skin in the game today with Kalshi. Chief guy mentality. I'm talking to staff a little bit last year that sometimes they felt like when he had to start that maybe he kind of gassed himself up a little bit, that maybe it's better if he doesn't know when he's going to pitch. And there's some guys like that. There's some guys that just like, they don't have time to think about it. It's, hey, go get your glove and get out of the bullpen and get ready. And next thing you know, they're on the bump, right? Some guys are just kind of wired that way. But you wouldn't have guys that are not in the mix, guys that aren't going to be part of your identity, come to media day. Right? Again, you look at the 4 guys that came positionally. That's 4 guys we expect to start. That's 4 guys we expect to be part of the 9 when it comes to the lineup card. And so O'Connor kind of knows what he's doing. I think he's tipping his hand without actually officially tipping his hand. But that's kind of how I see it. I pay attention to these things, like who represents Mississippi State baseball when it comes to these media opportunities when there's no games to be played. Who shows up? Who does the staff pick? We didn't pick these players. They picked these players. Another guy that O'Connor kind of mentioned too that appears to be emerging as your starting catchers, Kevin Milewski, transfer in from Seton Hall. He was a guy that many of you really coveted in the portal, and we got him. Of course, you got Raymond too. It's not going to be the same night every day. You can't catch 56 games. You just can't. Nobody can do it. This is kind of how things are in college. See, you're going to play 2 catchers. And, Sean James is a guy that can catch a little bit too. Sean's a guy that can play all over. He's just a ball player. So our catching depth is probably much better than it's been in a few years. We thought a couple years ago, in 2024, we were going to be loaded a catcher. Ross Highfield then has to have Tommy John. Joe Powell's just kind of getting back into baseball after being away for a while. We went out and signed Johnny Long basically as a rah-rah guy, locker room guy, and he ends up being your primary catcher. By the end of the year, Joe Powell had kind of found his stroke, and of course Joe comes back last year and is your primary catcher last year. But it's felt like many times that we're just kind of piecemealing this thing together, right? This year it doesn't feel that way. You've got a lot of guys that have caught a lot of college baseball, a lot of guys behind the dish. And so Milewski, again, that's a double-digit home run guy. And that's the thing I begin to think about how potent this lineup can be. You're going to have power guys at nearly every spot. The one group that O'Connor said was still kind of up in the air, a little bit middle infield. And I think a lot of that is maybe he's talking to the team through the media. Gat Sanders, privately, I'm told, has done some good things at short. And I don't know that we had that on the bingo card 6 months ago. And Garrick Fry's played some at second. And you got to find a way to get Garrick's bat in the order, right? He's a switch hitter. You can't have he and Noah Sullivan both DH. You got to have somebody play a position. And again, you kind of work through the options out there. Ryder Woodson obviously is a guy that can play a little bit. A guy that had some good moments at NC State. That's a good program, obviously. They do a good job up there. But you still got some things to kind of figure out, right? And he talked about the challenge that you basically have had 2 teams playing against each other for the last few months. Come next week, it's going to be 1 team. It's going to be 1-9. And there are some guys, obviously, that are still fighting for opportunities. How we handle that will determine a lot about the first month of this season. The players themselves, more times than not, they know. Even if you don't really want to admit it publicly, you know when somebody else has had a better run. You know when somebody's hot, maybe you're not. That's just kind of the reality of life. There are some guys that have a tough time admitting that, but players at this level, they want to compete. And when we get to the level of competition, more times than not, guys can rank themselves. They know. They may not admit it to you, but they know. An interesting aside he mentioned, too, was about leadership. That he had people write on a piece of paper who they felt the leaders on this team were and why. And he goes, it was pretty incredible, the responses he got. Some of those were new players. It wasn't just the Noah Sullivans or the Bryce Chances of the world or the Ace Reeses. There were some newcomers that made that list. That's encouraging to me, too. And he shared that some of the guys have shared this has been the best baseball culture they've been a part of. That says a lot about the players that O'Connor and staff brought in, but it speaks volumes about the players that were already here that elected to stay and that the staff elected to retain. You can't have a bad locker room and expect to have a great ball club. That's just not how it works. right? If guys don't feel that they can trust each other and depend on each other, then they're going to play selfishly. And we've had some of that too. We've had some guys too that get a little draftitis or whatever, and they start thinking about themselves and their own numbers rather than what's best for the team. I'm not going to mention any names, but that's happened at times in recent years too. Not everybody is Tanner Allen, right? Tanner Allen is a guy that playing college baseball is the best thing that ever happened to him, right? And he believes that. Coming to Mississippi State, best thing that ever happened to him. He never had these aspirations of, hey, everything I do is about the next level. The thing about Tanner Allen is he was present where his feet were. And why do you think the game always found him late in the ball game? And again, I go back to that 21 season. I think the only time he didn't come through with a productive at bat in the 8th or 9th inning at 21 was against Missouri. Every other time it seemed like he came through. So when you have guys that are bought into the M over S, and that's one of the things that O'Connor has kind of emphasized, is what this means, what that logo means, what it means to the players that have worn that insignia before, what it means to all of you to wear that M over S cap around to identify with Mississippi State. That's a branding that has some run. A lot of people just go put a shirt on. And I know how you guys are. I got an M over S tattoo on my left hand, right? And it's something that is synonymous with Mississippi State. And when you think about the 2 years that we've had, not just in baseball, but just in the totality of our athletics department, we haven't had a ton to cheer about. We've had some good moments every now and again, but we have not had a season in 2 years where we really felt like we could go out and win any game against anybody. Chris Jans has had some moments as your head basketball coach where, I remember that first year down the stretch, we were probably the toughest out in the conference, right? Sam Purcell's put together some run at times too where, we win some games people aren't expecting us to win. Last year down the stretch, of course, we had a favorable schedule in baseball, but the month of May was a great month for Mississippi State. And you could really, if you wanted to make a coaching change, you couldn't afford to let Chris Simonis get hot, right? Love Chris to death. The more distance we get between now and that decision, the better I feel about it, right? We've done some things for O'Connor maybe we didn't do for Lemonis, but the reality of it is it's for the betterment of Bulldog baseball. Nobody's bigger than the logo. Not me, not you, not Lemonis, not O'Connor, not Ace Reese, not Will Clark, nobody. Now, everybody's got a hand in enhancing the quality of the logo, but nobody's bigger than the program. Nobody's bigger than the M over S, period. And that's the way we should always approach that. Principles before personalities. What is best for Mississippi State baseball long term? Well, if we had told you this time last year, it's like, hey, we're going to go to a regional, we're not going to win it, and we're going to make a coaching change, and we're going to bring in Brian O'Connor, you'd have said, let me just do it. Okay, cool, let's go, right? You wouldn't have even batted an eye. And so, again, you got to commend Zach Selman for, number one, making the decision when he made it. We get back from Auburn that Monday. Lemonis is relieved of duty. And I think it allowed our players to relax a little bit. I don't want to sit here and say this is solely because Coach Parker and those guys did a great job. They did, but it wasn't just because of that. I think the dark cloud and all these players, playing because they love Lemonis, trying to save his job. That was removed. They're able just to go play for the M over S, not for a coach. And that's not in any way to be critical of anybody. But I think that had to play into everything in the month of May. You flash forward this year, it's a completely different dynamic, right? Nobody is going to take the field against Hofstra thinking, hey, man, if we don't sweep this series, Twitter's going to light up critical of Coach O'Connor. And so I think the players entered this season with a much stronger mindset, and they can focus more on Omaha than they can a potential coaching search. I don't know that we fully appreciate that aspect of it. These guys can come in here and play baseball. We win an AFL championship at 21, as you guys well know. 22, we had some pieces, had some injuries too, and everybody said, well, we can kind of excuse that. Then 23 happens, and it's like, this is now a trend. We bounce back a little bit in 24, but you got to think, for like guys like Bryce Chance, basically his entire career at Mississippi State, there have been people calling for a coaching change. Think about that for a second. For the first time in Bryce Chance's career, his active playing career, not counting the red shirt, but actively as a player, he doesn't have to go out there and worry about his coach. He can just go focus on the game, focus on what matters most, and just kind of move forward and see if we can't get this team back to Omaha. I think that is an important aspect of this that has been maybe undertold a little bit. And we talked about what it meant last year in the month of May. What does it mean now in February? What does it mean now as we begin a new era of Mississippi State baseball, an era of more confidence, right? Have you guys been this excited about a college baseball season since maybe the beginning of 2022? I mean, we win an AFL championship in 21. We thought we were going to have an opportunity to repeat. Even D1 baseball had us as a team that was in their expected eight for Omaha in 2022. Then we lose Landon Sims and Stone Simmons down there at Tulane before we even get into SEC play. And we were chasing it the rest of the year. Brooks Auger steps up for us, and we ultimately lose him too. It's just a wild scenario for us. And so we talked about the importance on the football side to have a return to normalcy. I think that's what you're seeing in baseball too. A return to normalcy where the game matters more than the participants or the coaches. The program matters more. Omaha matters more. And so we can be a lot more task-oriented and kind of remove the personal element about that. And I think that is something that is immeasurable. You don't have to carry the weight of your coach's future on your shoulder when you get into the batter's box. You don't toe the rubber thinking, I need to win this game, I need to close this game out, so we don't have to hear about it on social media. Because the reality of it is, even though you guys love those players, and you get frustrated at times too, I've never been one that thinks you should ever go after a player on social media. I do not support that at all. But the confidence that you all have leading into next week is something we haven't felt in Starkville. And I think the players feel that. I know the coaches feel that. So for the first time, maybe since the opening of 2022, we're all in one accord. Every one of us, you, me, the coaches, the players, the staffers, administration, everybody's focused on what's next for Mississippi State baseball. We're not splintered anymore thinking, you know what, hey, is Lamonis going to make it? And of course, people out there, I've been calling for this since 2022. Well, congratulations. We've went over the details on that many, many times. But the reality of it is, it's a new day for Mississippi State baseball. And I don't know that the Southeastern Conference is actually ready for that, to be honest with you. And the SEC, for years and years and years, needed Mississippi State to be good. With the advancements of the league, we've had some great years as a league when State hadn't been good lately. But I think there's some people around this league that have benefited from the fact that Mississippi State maybe wasn't quite as committed as we are now in baseball. And I think that's bad news for some teams around the Southeastern Conference that have we kind of lost our way a little bit. They benefited from that. And now we're back, right? Now we're back. And we're about to go prove it. And I think that's one of those things when you begin to kind of work through, the totality of a season. There are some teams out there that have been in positions like we are. They're one injury away from being a last-place team. When you look at the depth that we have here, and O'Connor talked about that too. Right now, we don't have anybody with any major injuries, and thank God for that, knock on wood. But I'm ready for some baseball. And you guys are ready to win, right? And I think the fact that we've had such an up and down year, and especially on the men's side, but the women's side as well, people are like, just give me the baseball season. Because you say, you know what, I know that I'm going to be able to go out there at Duty Noble Field, and I'm going to see an incredibly talented team play at an incredibly high level. And I don't have to go up there hoping to win. I can show up expecting to win. And I think that's probably one of the biggest differences between this year and the last three. All right, time for today's Close with Blair Player of the Day, brought to you by Blair Chandler at Close with Blair, CLOSE with Blair, BLAIR.com. His phone number, 601-500-2344, 601-500-2344. Save that number in your phone as Mortgage Guy. You may not remember his name, but you'll always remember the need. And when you need him, he'll be there for you. 25 years of experience in a meat grinder of an industry. I've worked in that industry before. I can tell you, it is not for the faint of heart. A lot of stress and anxiety because people are depending on you to make their dream of home ownership come true. So whether you're looking to refinance, buy a home, get a second mortgage, I don't know your needs. Blair Chandler does. He knows how to fulfill them too. What's important too is there's a life hack out there too where you get that pre-qualification letter. You want to see your real estate agent jump into orbit, get your financing approved. You can shop within your means, know exactly what you're looking for, and then get you in a new home quicker than you think. So whether it's your first home, your next home, your retirement home, or perhaps that game day condo that may prove to be more affordable than you think, Blair Chandler, the only name to know. A bulldog through and through. Your Close with Blair Player today is Bryce Chance. I thought about this today as Bryce is sitting there in media availability. He's been here the longest. I joked with him. I said, you've been here longer than everybody but the bus driver, Everett Kennard. But it's true. Bryce has been here really through it all. And I think his opinion matters. And I asked him about that today. So a lot of people believe that your opinion carries some weight. And D1 Baseball, Baseball America say some special things about this team. What do you think? And he was very complimentary. He goes, yeah, I agree. It's a very special group. We're capable of doing some special things. I'm paraphrasing there. But, Bryce is a guy, too. Like every year, everybody says we're going to recruit over him. We're going to recruit over him. But, man, every year, Bryce just continues to find a way. And I thought it was so apropos that he wins the Diamond Dog competition. And it's been a few weeks back when he did that. But probably you weren't expecting that. He talked about how much fun it was. But I think Bryce is a guy that kind of exemplifies the Mississippi State story. He is a guy that dreamed of playing at Mississippi State. He's coming here and hung in there, and he's going to play 4 years for one of the greatest baseball programs in the country. And he's worthy of our respect. That's why Bryce Chance is today's Close with Blair Player of the Day. All right, time for today's Top 10 list. As always, brought to you by KalidoGuitars.com. CALIDO Guitars.com. You know how to spell guitars. If you don't, it may not be the shop for you, right? But, it's a Mississippi State owned and operated guitar shop out of Lake Jackson, Texas, just south of Houston. Next time we go out there, be sure to make the trip down. You can check them out, see their expensive showroom, get to know them personally. Maybe talk a little baseball with Daniel. Yeah, Daniel's the godfather of the operation. It's kind of become a passion project for him. And many of our Boneyard listeners have gotten gig bags, cases, guitars, all the accessories, everything you need. You can get at a discounted price because you listen to this show. They're already very competitive price-wise, but promo code BSR. We wanted to keep it simple. Daniel and I broke bread at the cafe one day and reached a partnership, and I said, hey, this is what works for me. Let's not make it complicated. So BSR, that gets you a 10% discount off their already low price. That gets you free shipping. That gets you no sales tax unless you live in the state of Texas. And they're going to make a 5% donation to the Bulldog Excellence Fund based on your purchase price. I mean, just think about the savings in and of itself, right? I mean, it kind of works out to be almost a 20% discount when you begin to factor in the tax and the savings that you have from shipping. There's a lot to that. They really want your business. They're willing to prove that. I've got a guitar from them. I've got a Steve Vai signature model that I absolutely love. And it feels great in my hands. And I want to play it more often than I get to. But the reality of it is, it doesn't matter if you're a beginner guitar player, an intermediate, or a professional. You can find a product that fits your needs at KalidoGuitars.com. I love the selection. I love the fact that I can get a name brand guitar, a signature model from them. All I got to do is pick up the phone and say, hey, Daniel, here's what I want. And then they set it up for me exactly the way that I want. Maybe you've got some custom needs. You know what? They can accommodate that. And you buy from other guitar shops, you're kind of on your own. They're a place that employs guitar players themselves. They know what we want, so they're willing to fulfill those needs. Be sure and check them out today, KalitoGuitars.com. Okay, we had the Grammys last night, and you're not going to hear any political statements from me because I love each of you. I have some strong political opinions, but I'm largely apolitical on the show and in my public life. And one of the reasons for that is I always want this show to be a haven for all people, right? I love each and every one of you, and the only thing that matters to me is that you come from a maroon state. I don't care if it's blue or red. I want you to be a bulldog, and that's the currency in which I trade it, right? Are you a bulldog? Yes. If we all got together and had a drink or broke bread together, the chances of all of us agreeing on everything, slim and none. But we all want Mississippi State to win. That's where I live. That's the market, I guess, where I trade. That's all I really care about. If you're a bulldog, there's some other things that may be important to you that may not be important to me. And there's some causes out there that are important to me that may not be important to you. But we can unite under one banner. And that's one of the things that's important to me. And of course, there are a lot of people that get up there at award shows and they have to make a political statement. I don't agree with that aspect of it, to be honest with you. And I don't begrudge anybody their beliefs. But I think in a situation like that, it should be a unifying moment and not a chance to get up there and virtue signal. That happens from time to time. And then it becomes division. And I thought Jelly Roll had one of the greatest acceptance speeches of all time. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. Whether you like Jelly Roll or not, the guy's an authentic person. And I love what he said, too. He talked about a relationship with Jesus Christ, and he said, no political party owns that. No record label owns that. You, too, can have a relationship with Jesus Christ. The reality of it is my own opinion is, if you care, and I think you do listen to the show, there are like three things we don't talk about: politics, religion, and her, right? You know what I'm talking about. There was an old guy had that album, I can't remember the name, but I thought it was very clever. Three things we don't talk about. And that's okay. That's okay. But, it's like I saw somebody today in a group, going off about Rage Against the Machine. Like, hey, Rage has become the machine, blah, 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 blah. Listen, Rage Against the Machine has not produced new material this century. Okay? And the fact that people are still afraid of them is interesting to me, because I remember in the 92 general election, they played a free concert outside of the Republican National Convention. They played a free concert outside the Democratic National Convention because they wanted our generation to be heard and recognized. They didn't pick and choose which political party they endorsed. They wanted their cause and their message to be heard. You don't have to agree with them politically. You can still enjoy the music, and that's one of the things I think social media has done. I think some people have kind of lost their way. And what I mean by that is, you don't see Michael Jordan out there getting involved in all this stuff, right? And Michael Jordan is beloved by all people, right? I mean, I guess maybe if you were a Pistons fan, maybe not so much. But you understand my point. There's just so many other things that are so much more important than our political affiliation. And listen, there's some bad things that are happening around the world in our country. There's no question about that. But the reality of it is music, I think, should always be something that is of unification, my personal opinion. So here are the top 10 songs of the rock genre that were either nominated or won a Grammy. And it's amazing what passes for rock music these days. It's true. Some of this stuff basically is like pop. But here we are. Number 10, it's Bon Iver's Specs Side. They were nominated in the alternative rock category. I don't know a lot about them. I think this song is pretty cool. When I saw they were nominated, I went and listened to some of it to see maybe if I could catch on. Not really my cup of tea, but I do think this song is something you'll have some fun with. Number 9, and how cool is this, man? The Cure, pulling down a couple of Grammys. at this stage in their career, right? It's nuts, man. What's it called? The album is called Songs of a Broken World, something like that. But Alone was also featured, nominated, and won. And give The Cure a lot of credit. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, Robert Smith, his very morose delivery on everything. And to this day, I love the fact, my youngest son, Ian, big Cure fan, and he didn't know Fascination Street when I turned him on to that. I was like, dude, this is the jam right here. He sent me a graphic today. I don't know if you guys keep up with this kind of stuff. He sent me a graphic. I don't know if it's Spotify or whatever, but he is like the number one Beatles listener at Mississippi State. Like for people on this certain music service at Mississippi State, the number one Beatles listener. Number 8, a band that I don't really care for, but because I am a defender of the faith of rock music, they had a big return album last year. I do think it's better than some of the earlier stuff. Some of you will disagree. Chino's voice just doesn't do it for me. I think they're a good band. I don't like the muted, overprocessed. Is it tuned right? You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't know, but it's Deftones. It's just not my thing. And they got a huge following. There's no denying that. But they auto-tune a lot of stuff. It's just that whole airy vocal that it just doesn't, to me, it doesn't match. But My Mind is a Mountain is your number 8 track off their return album. Number 7, another band that's not really my thing, but they were nominated, a band called Haim, Haim, and it's All Over Me. I like the song. I like the lyrical content. I think of the songs on that album, that's one that's probably the catchiest. Number 6, anytime that we can celebrate the beauty and majesty of the lovely Mississippian Hayley Williams, we should. Solo album, critically acclaimed, and she's such a great vocalist. She's so great. And I don't know that a lot of people know she's from Mississippi. Of course, she is the lead singer of Paramore, a band that's had some huge hits out there. But Glum is probably the best track, I think, and it was a winner on her solo album. So if you're unfamiliar with that and you love Paramore or you want to celebrate a Mississippian, give Hayley Williams' solo album a spin. Number 5, they didn't win. I thought they should have. I like the new Linkin Park. Now, it will never be what it was with Chester. We have to accept that. We got to move on. But I'm glad that Mike Shinoda and the guys are still making music. And I know Emily, a lot of people were again, a female singer. The reality of it is any guy they would have got would have suffered by comparison to Chester. And I think they've done a great thing. So we're going to go with The Emptiness Machine at number 5. Again, Linkin Park, the album itself, From Zero, was nominated, didn't win. And then Emptiness Machine was nominated, didn't win. But nominated, so we're going to go with that. Number 4, okay, Eric Luttrell, my friend, who used to front the band out of Jackson, Brouhaha. And we've done a couple things together. I hope to get back together when things calm down a little bit for me, which is difficult. But love Eric. And, man, I remember the very first time. I think it was W.C. Don's, I believe, the first time I saw them. And you felt like you were seeing something like in its infancy, like something big was about to happen. And they opened some for Flinghammer. And always a shout out to Corey and those guys. But and Will. Man, God, Will was so great. But Eric tells me about this band. We were at Hal and Mal's checking out our boys Storage 24. Man, we love those guys. Love them. Fred's listening to the show. Matt, incredible bass player. Man, the whole band, just good dudes, man. Like any time that I see they've had some new success, it makes me happy. I like to see people that are good people have some level of success. And Storage 24, one of the best bands in Mississippi, bar none. But Eric tells me that night, my new favorite album is by this band Turnstile. I had never heard it, checked them out. I like them. It's not necessarily in my normal lane, but I appreciate the fact that we've got some new rock out there kind of stirring up stuff. But off their album, We're going with Seeing Stars at number 4. Seeing Stars at number 4. And one of the reasons I have that in front of Linkin Park is because they actually won. Number 3. Another band that I thought kind of got robbed, Sleep Token. Sleep Token was nominated for a couple things, didn't win, and the fans are furious. And I get it. I understand it. Caramel was nominated for like Rock Song of the Year. I think it probably should have won. It didn't. But I can dig it, right? And I remember like when that album came out, it was like the weekend of the Missouri baseball series last year. I listened to that album in its entirety, the entire way to Como. And like the whole weekend I was there. And I was just so incredibly impressed. And Sleep Token, big band, and Blake D's a buddy of mine that is playing drums in this little on-again, off-again music project we got together. And eventually Blake and I will record something. But he took his son to see Sleep Token in Atlanta. He's like, next time they come, you got to go with us, dude. And I absolutely want to. But Caramel, great track. It was the lead single off the new album, even in Arcadia. Incredible. Number 2, and this goes back to my music days. I remember the very first time that I heard Head Like a Hole, and I thought, you know what? This may be the future of rock music. And, of course, the industrial era kind of ushered itself in, hung out for a little while. Industrial music had more staying power than grunge. I don't know if you guys recognize that or you want to admit that because maybe it wasn't your favorite, but it was because, you know, the Ministry and all these bands, Stabbing Westward, great bands that came along and hung around for a few years. But 9 Inch Nails, back on the stage, is as alive as you need me to be. Great song. We talked about that when it first came out, too. Number 1, though, and this gives us a chance to talk about Ozzy again. And for those of you that watched the Back to the Beginning show, like I did, very emotional day. It was like one day you're smiling, like one song you're smiling, the next minute you're crying, you got tears in your eyes. And we knew that was going to be the last time we ever saw Ozzy Osbourne. I think we all felt it. And one of the highlights of the show ends up being the best rock performance of the year. It's Youngblood with Changes. And, of course, Nuno Betancourt, the incredible guitar player from Extreme. I don't know that he got enough recognition because music was changing, right? And, of course, you guys know Extreme from, you know, Wholehearted and More Than Words Can Say. You don't know It's a Monster. You don't know Kid Ego, right? Some of you do. But a lot of people only knew the hits that were on the top 40. Nuno Betancourt is an absolute phenomenal guitar player, in the words of Ben Howland. And he said in an interview that the night before they played Changes, they didn't even have the arrangement. Like the original, the Black Sabbath version, obviously, was just piano and Ozzy. And they ultimately put together, as he called it, the Purple Rain version of Changes. And I think it gave the song new life. And, of course, Dom and Youngblood, they call him, his name is Dom, but Youngblood's what he's known by professionally, is kind of carrying the banner right now. And he made a comment when he won. He said, hey, you know, rock is coming back and we're going to get you. I love to hear that. And the way that I look at it, if Youngblood is turning more young people onto rock music, whether you like him or not, let's not gatekeep that and let's let him be an ambassador for young people. One of the coolest things to me is I watch a lot of reels. You know, I watch more reels than I watch television. And I get done with the show, I'll go lay in bed, wait for Dana to get home, and I'll scroll through my phone and I watch these reels. And I saw a couple of kids yesterday that were playing In My Dreams from Dokken. It was just two buddies, like in a room, like an old bedroom like we did back in the 80s. And they're playing In My Dreams from Dokken. And George Lynch likes the video. And I think, how cool is this that these kids, number one, even know who Dokken is, but they go to the trouble to learn the guitar parts, and they play it, make a video, and then George Lynch, one of our heroes, likes the video. That's the good part about technology and social media, right? That people can see their music being honored and introduced to a new generation of fans. I think that is phenomenal. I do think some big things are coming in rock music. I do, and I hope that you guys do as well. If you have ideas for the top 10 list, reach out, let us know. Best way to do that is to hit up Roy Samanti on X at Dawgmatic67, DAWGMATIC 67. You can find him on Twitter at the same handle, and I'm on all forms of social media at ScoutSteveR. All right, next segment of the show brought to you by Campus Bookmart, a Starkvillian institution. Man, we love Campus Bookmart, and why? Because they got the stuff we want. We want more Mississippi State merch. And if you are like me, anybody that's buying me a gift, if they get me something Mississippi State related, I'm going to be pleased with it. I am, right? Whether it's new apparel, whether it's anything I need to detail out the office, the fan cave, the vehicle, you can find it at Campus Bookmart. And you want to see a smile on your friends or family's face, get them that new fashionable quarter zip. Get them that M over S hoodie, right? We're going to need some extra layers with the early stages of college baseball season, but don't overthink it. Just think about Campus Bookmart. So you know what? I got a gift. I got Valentine's Day coming up. Let me just go ahead and make a push here and get something special that I know they're going to enjoy and appreciate, right? You can go out there and you get creative and you get a little bit cute with your gift buying, and next thing you know, they may not tell you, but you may not ever see them wearing it, right? And you know if you buy Mississippi State gear, they're going to wear it. Be sure and check out Campus Bookmart next time you're in town. If you can't make it to town, visit them on the World Wide Web at campusbookmart.net and use promo code BSR to get free shipping on all orders over $75. Any order less than $75, absolutely incomplete. Guys, it was a bad weekend of basketball. And I say bad, just the results were bad. The effort was there, but the reality of it is you play to win the game. Right, Herm? Bulldogs dropped to 11-11, and this is a game, we knew we needed to win both of those games last week. And you get the game at LSU, and then you go to Missouri, and it felt like once we got down 10, we just couldn't get back into it. That's just how it felt. And they did a good job against Hub. They did. And we're going to have to deal with that. But at the end of the day, Hub still gets his. But, man, it took 20 shots. Yeah, he and Epps both put 20 shots out. We shot 65 times, 40 come from Hubbard and Epps. Hub has 22 points. Turned it over just 3 times, but also kind of negated that with 3 steals of his own. He was 4 of 6 from the line. And I'll be honest, Hub's not getting those calls as much anymore. He's not. But 4 of 12 from beyond the arc, so he extends his record streak, I think, 70 games now? Sean Jones with 8 points, played just 16 minutes. And I questioned that a little bit, but he got in a little bit of foul trouble. We had a lot of guys getting foul trouble in this game. And I'm not going to sit here and blame officiating. That's not what I'm trying to suggest. But we had some difficulty defending without fouling. Jaboy McGee gets a start, plays 24 minutes, just 6 points from him. We got to get more from him. Achor, just 15 minutes. He has 4 fouls as well, and just 6 points and pulled down 4 rebounds. Quincy Ballard started as well, just 2 points. Kind of a return to form for him, right? I mean, that's about what we've had. He had the one good game, and now here we are. Jaden Epps off the bench, 23 points to lead Mississippi State, 9 of 20 from the floor, 3 of 8 from beyond the arc. King Grace fouls out in the game, 19 minutes, 7 points. And again, you start looking at some of these young guys and you think there's a nucleus we can build around. With Davis Fleming, King Grace, maybe. We'll see. Bulldogs shoot 43% in the game, 39% from beyond the arc, 11 of 28 from 3, and with just 67%. And how many times down the stretch we have a chance to pull within a basket, we couldn't make a free throw. State didn't get to the line a whole lot in a game. There were a lot of whistles, and when we got there, we did not convert. It ends up being our undoing in that respect. You lose the ball game by 5, and you're never going to go 100%. But there is a lot of emotional free throws, right? You give your team a lift. It's like you're down 5. If you can make a couple free throws there and make it a one-possession game, you get a little more juice on defense. On the other side of the coin, Missouri, to be honest with you, I didn't think they were especially athletic on defense. I thought they made things happen offensively. They got a lot of open looks, but I thought defensively at times we just kind of took some ill-advised shots. I think we kind of aided in our own demise. Mark Mitchell, Shoots the ball pretty well for a bigger guy. 19 points for him to lead the Tigers. Barrett pitched in 16, Pierce for 13, Jaden Stone with 11. Kind of is what it is. They shoot 43% and 34% from beyond the arc. They do get to the line a little more often than we do. 25 of 33. Is it that their style of play, or is it we're not moving our feet? I don't know. But you go back and look, and the points off turnovers, 21 for them, just 8 for us. And in many respects, that's kind of the stat that jumps out to me, is that they did a good job defensively. We didn't make our free throws, and when those things kind of come together, you're going to lose. So no midweek game for the Bulldogs this week. We will have Arkansas in Humphrey Coliseum for some brunch basketball on Saturday, 11 a.m. this Saturday against number 21 Arkansas. We'll preview that game on Friday's show. And reminder, we will have a baseball scrimmage after basketball. And they're not going to open the gates until after basketball. So be aware of that. So don't think we'll go to basketball, then we'll just mosey on over. We're not going to open the gates until after basketball. We want people to stay at Humphrey Coliseum and be a part of that before they head over to Duty Noble Field. And so no midweek game for the men. And again, now, the best we can hope for is the NIT, barring an incredible run in the SEC tournament. And based on what you've seen, I just don't know if we could put together 3 or 4 games of consistency. It just kind of is what it is at this point. But again, no midweek game. So it'll be an interesting week as we kind of get our legs under us a little bit. Chris Jan spoke with the media today. We'll have that up tomorrow for you. He did speak about what a mess it is with all this G League stuff and all these things that happen with all that stuff. And, that's just part of it, right? All right, the Mississippi State ladies also lose to Missouri. Bulldogs now 16-7 overall, 3-6 in the conference. And again, you look at this thing, I'm already penciling in losses to South Carolina, Texas, and LSU. You say, Steve, how could you do that? Well, I'm just, based on where we are, right? So that makes you, 3-9. So the best you can hope for is probably 7-9. Is that enough to make the tournament? I don't think so. I think you probably got to go to the tournament, the SEC tournament, win a game or 2 there. But I never know what to expect from this team. Never know, right? They go lose at Alabama, and again, they probably should have won. Then they go to Tennessee and basically dominate the game. You come home to a partisan crowd, and shot selection was terrible. You get through the first quarter, you're down 22-20, you get even, and then get ahead at the half, and you leave 44-43 at the break. And you think, okay, we've settled in. Well, give Missouri some credit. They made some adjustments and gave us trouble in the second half. They outscored us in both periods to win the game 88-80. But, man, it felt like it was right there for the taking for us there in the fourth. We just couldn't get it done. And that's a disappointing thing. You really thought maybe the crowd would kind of will them to victory. Madison makes the big 3 right under the 7-minute mark to pull the game even. And it's like it's right there. It's right there for us. Chris makes a 3-pointer to make it a 2-point game. We're down 2 with 5 minutes to play. We pull even right at 4 minutes to play and even take the lead, 76-73 at 3:50. And everybody's kind of on their feet thinking we're going to do it. They make a couple free throws, and then next thing you know, we're up 4, 78-74, right before the 3-minute mark. And then, hey, Grace Slaughter, we talked about her in our preview. She hits a big 3 to give them life. And from there, it just kind of cascaded away from us. It's just nuts to go back and look at this stuff kind of in hindsight. We are up 78-74, and next thing you know, we're down 8. You take a bad shot when you got juice, and the next thing you know, you lose a ball game. It was right there for us to take it. And players have to execute. One thing that I always go back to, you get to the last 2 minutes, coaches win or lose those games. You got to have players contribute. But coaching's got to win those games. State shot it well, 58%, 46% from beyond the arc, and 80% from the free throw line. We didn't get there a lot, but it's not like we faded in the fourth quarter because we couldn't shoot free throws. We did. We didn't shoot it exceptionally well in the fourth quarter, and that proved to be our undoing. But kind of is what it is. It is. And I don't know. I'm kind of got my notes crossed up here, but the reality of it is we lose a ball game. And, at the end of the day, the details don't really matter. Now, on Thursday, the ladies will travel to South Carolina to take on number 2, the Dawn Staley's Gamecocks. And you can say what you want to about Dawn Staley. That woman can coach basketball. And there just hasn't been any layoff, right? I mean, it's like you would say, okay, well, we had those years with her and Missouri and her and Vic. They've won. And they've continued to win, and she has made South Carolina a women's basketball power. We'll preview that game on Wednesday's show. Now, we went up there last time, and we made a game out of it. We couldn't finish. I hope we don't go up there and just kind of exhaust our energy and then lose the game substantially. That could be soul-crushing for us. But ladies back in action a week from Thursday against the University of Georgia. But you start playing all this stuff back, and it's like you're running out of opportunities to pad your resume, right? You go out and you get Kentucky, you get Tennessee, and then you drop a game against a Missouri team that's really not very good. They're not. And now you get into really the back half of your schedule where you've got some certain losses against some highly ranked teams. And the thing you work through too, like we got 4 games that we think are winnable. 2 of those are at home and 2 are on the road. And we haven't exactly been a great road team. No, nobody really is, but we're 2-4 in true road games. So that's where things lie. And, we'll kind of see what happens the rest of the way. But it may be a scenario where neither of these teams makes the NCAA tournament. Again, I think the women have the better chance, and that's not a good chance. You drop games like this, they come back. And I thought O'Connor made a good point about that too. And I asked him the last question of the press conference, and this matters in baseball, basketball, and everything. But it really matters in games like this when you got a lot of games. Every game matters. I asked him, I said, hey, last year a lot was expected of Virginia. You guys didn't get the results you wanted. What did you learn last year that can help you this year manage expectations? And he said, every game matters. He said, we got hot at the end of the year, but we had too many midweek losses. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, we've done that too. Like you go back to 2024, we should have been hosting that regional, right? You beat Central Arkansas, you're hosting. And it may not be UVA coming in, but Mississippi State's hosting. You have 4 quad 4 losses that year. Same thing happened to Virginia last year. It's some really bad midweek losses, and they're kind of somewhat limited in who they can play because they're all the way over there on the East Coast. And so there's not a lot of high RPI teams within a reasonable driving distance of Virginia. Same scenario, but every game matters. And that's kind of, with this, it certainly matters in women's and men's basketball. You got some games against some teams that are expected to make the Sweet 16. You just hope maybe you can get one of them. You don't expect to win those games. But these other games, like this Missouri game at home, you got to win the game. You have to win the game. And I understand part of competition is winning and losing. But when the chips are down and you get a vulnerable Missouri team coming to your arena after you have a big win over Tennessee, you got to manage that. You got to do a good job. And we didn't. And so now here we are looking at a scenario where we had a 5-8 record in football. Not to say we didn't make some improvement, but we certainly didn't finish things out well. And then the men's team are not expected to make the tournament, and women's team on the bubble at best. And so then baseball is going to kind of be our saving grace, hopefully, right? That's the thing I look at. I want to be competitive in everything. And it wasn't too many years ago we set like back-to-back school records and teams in the postseason. And we were doing well, right? Now, some people would say, you know what, that's the impact of NIL. Maybe it is. But everybody else is dealing with it too. We got to figure it out. So, and I hate to sit here and just say, things are going to get better. I don't know that. I don't know that. And man, for you guys that are major donors to men's basketball. I think you've really got your work cut out for you this next year, because there's going to be a lot of people that aren't major donors that aren't going to be donors for men's basketball next year, because that's just kind of how things are. When you have a disappointing season, people are a little more reluctant to give. We have some basketball donors that are completely all in. They may give a little bit to football and baseball, but they are very much basketball people. They're going to give. They're always going to dig deep for us, but they're going to need more help. And that's the thing I think about when you have a season like this, is you just don't get as much help on the donorship side for basketball. It's just kind of how things work. So we're going to need more money, and we're going to have probably less people giving it. And those are the things, I don't want to sound negative, but those are the things that end up impacting us for long term. Because people are like, hey, if I'm going to put my money in this, I'm going to put it in baseball, or I'm going to put it in football, And there are some people that believe in Jeff Lebby. There are some people that are writing big checks for Mississippi State football because they believe that we are headed in the right direction. And so I think next year, of course, is kind of the flash year for us. We'll find out for sure if we're heading in the right direction or not. I believe we've made some improvement this year. I think you guys did too. I mean, obviously 5 is greater than 2, but we all know we let a couple of games get away from us that would have been huge wins for us. And it's changes the opinion of many people. Makes it a lot easier to sell tickets next year. But we've got to do some things. We've got to have something to feel good about. We have to. And that's where I think baseball comes in. I think our fans have really, really, really done their part in many respects. Not everybody, but most everybody. And we're not getting the ROI. And my hope is we get everything we expect out of baseball this year. And the thing that people always say, Steve, do you really believe it's an Omaha team? I absolutely do. But I'm not going to sit here and tell you that we're going to go to Omaha. I know we're certainly capable. I think probably the floor for this team is to win a regional. I think that's the floor. I think you host, and I think you win the regional. And you never know what happens in one weekend in a super regional, because that's all about matchups. You just don't ever know. We get to host a super regional here with you guys out there. Yeah, good luck to them, right? You feel great about that. But you never know how these super regionals are going to know. Just go back and ask Arkansas in 21 and Tennessee in 22. Number 1 seed in the tournament. And it's only been, 2 times in the history of the tournament in this format that the number 1 seeds won the whole thing? It's kind of crazy how it all works out. But I share that with you because I am very confident in this baseball team, but I don't think it's an Omaha or bust situation. But I certainly think this team is capable of getting to Omaha and making a bunch of racket. Once you get there, then it's really all about your bracket, right? You get the right bracket with the pitching we're expected to have, with the offense we're expected to have. I don't think anybody's going to be pleased to see us. Somebody asked me earlier today too, Steve, what do you think, what's the over-under? I said 18 and 12. I think that's the over-under. I think we'll win at least 18 games, put ourselves in a position to be a top 8 national seed. Could we get to 20 wins? Yeah, probably need a little help to do that. And people say, well, it's a bear of a schedule. Guys, it almost always is. Almost always. And we're Mississippi State. We don't need to lower the hurdles in baseball. We don't. We've got a tradition. We've got a program. We've got a culture. And so, no, we should never be worried about a schedule. All right, final segment of the show brought to you by the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. The best place to stay in the Golden Triangle when you're bringing a large group to town, bar none. And you should bring a large group to town. It's just something about having everybody together under one roof that makes all the moments a little more meaningful. We've stayed there. We had a great time. We live in Starkville, but you know what? We've kind of outgrown this big house out in the country. When it's just me and the bride, it's not a big deal. But when you try to get all the kids and all their significant others and the grandkids together, it just makes sense for us to go to the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. 6 bedrooms, 2, soon to be 3 baths, the full-service kitchen, the wet bar, the back porch area, the fire pit area, plenty of parking out there. It's just so easy. 5 minutes away from the Mississippi State campus. It's worth the time and investment. And you owe it to yourself to do something special every now and again. You do. You work hard. You put up with a lot of nonsense, right? You get a lot of delayed packages from the Postal Service, right? You might as well enjoy life a little bit too. And yeah, I'm a little salty out of package didn't get delivered today. But But yeah, I've had some great times out there, and it's so peaceful, so quiet. Only a couple neighbors out there. We don't need you throwing a rager, but it's really a place that you can go and just kind of unwind and maybe make it work with a ball game weekend or maybe a midweek trip up here to enjoy some of your favorite shops and restaurants. Maybe you've always thought about how cool it would be. Make it a reality. This is your place to stay, the best place to stay in the Golden Triangle. And maybe it's a work thing, right? Maybe you got to come up here and spend some time in the Golden Triangle and you're bringing a work group with you. Instead of having everybody scattered out and just the expense of having to get 5 or 6 hotel rooms, you're just better off having everybody together. And hey, it's a work trip anyway, right? And you guys can, DoorDash some food, whatever you want to do, or go eat at Bulldog Burger Company. You can have the convenience of being right here in Starkville, kind of have a hub for that. We've had some friends that did that and had a great time. I would encourage you, Google the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Their Facebook page will auto-populate. You can check out all the pictures of all the amenities available to you and your guests. Some booking options will also be available to you. You can book through Airbnb or VRBO, completely up to you, right? But if you want to save some money, book through the Evolve website and use promo code BSR10. That's BSR10, the number 10. Get you 10% off your stay just by listening to this show. Be sure and check them out today, the Stark Vegas Clubhouse. Okay, so in case you didn't know, 247 Sports did the final updates on rankings for the 2026 class. And we're probably a little late doing it. Like if I was doing it, I would do it before now. That's just me. Yeah, I'd probably have it done maybe 2 weeks before the final signing day. That's just me. But I also understand, too, with the demands of rating all these portal prospects, it's a lot of work. And I don't know the job, right? I've been involved in a ranking process before years and years ago. A lot's changed. A lot more players getting evaluated these days. I understand that. But I would probably not do it the day before the final signing day, right? That's just my feeling. But this is what we got. So we ended up getting 2 more 4 stars out of the deal. No real surprise, Micah Nickerson, the edge from South Pike, who has already gotten 4 stars from another network, elevates to 4 stars. Now, I remember when we had that run of June commitments, I sent my thoughts in. And I told him, I said, hey, I'm kind of okay with the mid-level 3-star for this guy and that guy, but I think this Micah Nickerson guy is better than that. I think his initial rating was like an 87. Well, now he's up to a 91. Yeah, so he's not just a borderline 4-star. He is for sure a 4-star. And so I share that with you because it's a process that evolves over time. And when we took Micah Nickerson back in June, many of you said, oh, why are we taking this guy? Well, now, of course, at the end of the process, when he flipped to Missouri, we had to flip him back. People are like, oh, we can't lose him, right? It takes time for these evaluations to get done. And, of course, there's some guys, too, that early on you don't know a whole lot about, and you think, I wish we got more established prospects. Well, I would just tell you this Micah Nickerson thing basically kind of shows that we need to have some faith in our own evaluations. The only Power 4 offer he had when state offered was Virginia. And how they got him evaluated and got an offer out to him before any of the in-state schools did is kind of a mystery to me. So thumbs up to them. But he eventually gets Auburn, Ole Miss, Missouri, obviously, and Mississippi State. And so ends up being a guy with a handful of SEC offers. And again, State was on him, got him done. Also, a bit of a surprise, I think, to many. Not a surprise to me, because I had the chance to see him play in person this year against Ridgeland. It's Jaden Creation. Saw him 2 summers ago working with Chad Bumpus and watched Chad spend a lot of time with him. And I was like, this is a guy we probably need to talk to. If Chad's giving him so much individualized attention, this is a guy we need to use some context clues and figure out if we got to cover him. And watched him play against Ridgeland, and I thought he played his best football, actually, when they were fighting to get back in the game. He tried to will that team to victory. They just didn't have enough around him. This guy's really, really good. He's really good, makes the Mississippi-Alabama All-Star team, gets injured in practice, nothing major, but he gets a little bit banged up and can't participate in the game itself. he also goes to a 4-star. And I want to give Gabe Brooks a lot of credit. Gabe Brooks works for the network. Gabe, and this is kind of giving you some backstory here. I will advocate for our recruits, but I'm not some homer out here that's going to just sit here and say, well, all of our kids should be 4-stars. I just don't believe that. I got to have credibility within the room. A few years ago, I basically did a deep dive into the ranking process of 247. And when I was with Scout.com, I was very much involved with everything. I get to 247. It was a different deal. Now, I would reach out occasionally, but I never had anybody like reach out to me, say, Steve, what do you think? After Barton Simmons left to go work at Vanderbilt, I didn't get those calls anymore. Barton used to check in with me and say, hey, have you seen this kid? And I appreciated the fact that I had a seat at the table. Now, after Barton left, and before we made some changes to how we structure things at 247, I just said, listen, this is just wrong. There's no way you watch these guys play. No way whatsoever. None. And so I told them, I said, hey, I'm at Mississippi Alabama All-Star practices every year. I haven't seen anybody from 247 in a year or two. Well, Cooper Patania started going. Some back-to-back years. This year, Gabe Brooks came. And Gabe actually spent more time down there than I did. And Gabe did his due diligence. And next thing you know, there are 4 players. 4 players that make an all-star team. Micah Nickerson, of course, made the North-South game. But 3 of the guys in Mississippi Alabama practices that Gabe highlighted in his coverage all saw upward mobility in their ranking. Jaden Creation, obviously. Cooper Crosby, and this is one of those things that I fussed about earlier in the year. He commits to Louisiana Lafayette. There is no way that anybody watched tape of that kid and said, well, he's an 84. No way. No way. So I went and watched him play against St. Martin. He was really good. And even though he didn't have maybe a huge statistical game, he had a good game, had a couple touchdowns. But I thought and I texted Tom Loy and some other people in the network, I said, this kid, I don't care if he goes to State or Auburn, his ranking has to change. His ranking simply has to change. Gabe Brooks comes down, sees him, and he agrees. And so Cooper's one of the highest rated 3-stars in the country. Another guy, and I give Gabe, because I didn't advocate for Terrell Johnson. I liked Terrell Johnson. I went and watched him play against Louisville this year. I liked him. I can't say I loved him, but I liked him. And, of course, they're playing him at safety. He's going to play corner at Mississippi State. I go to Mississippi Alabama All-Star practices. It looked like a different player. And Gabe's telling me, I really like this Johnson kid. I said, Terrell? He goes, yeah, really like him. Well, he's also one of the highest rated 3-stars in the country. He's an 89, just below a 4-star. So 4 players move up. Brendan Womack drops a few spots in the top 247, but he maintains a 97 rating. And so when it's all said and done, the class rated by 247 is 27th in the country. With the composite, it's 24th in the country. So you end up with a top 25 class. And I think the fact that we do it so late at 247 kind of hurts us a little bit on the PR side, right? You want to get that out there because the reality of it is nobody cares what the rankings look like on the February signing day. Now, I'm sure there'll be some things that'll pop up tomorrow, but everybody's paying attention in December, right? That's just how things are. But I am very grateful to the network for doing their due diligence, even though it took longer than I think it probably should have. We ended up getting good rankings for many of our players. And people ask me, well, Steve, are you disappointed with any of the rankings? Yes, I'm very disappointed with J.J. Hill. J.J. Hill is a monster. Now, does he have the best foot speed? No, he doesn't. But he's going to be a very productive back on the college level. And I think his rating is wrong. Now, you work through this, and it ends up being like one guy you're upset about. That's probably pretty good. Now, as I brought up recently, too, I really argued hard for Terrence Hibbler a couple years ago. I really did. And I told them they were completely wrong. And you know what? I may have been wrong in that deal because he didn't do anything here. He didn't. Now, granted, it takes a little while to kind of get up to strength and speed of the SEC when you're a defensive lineman. But I remember Josh Boyd and Fletcher Cox playing very early, and both of those guys went to the National Football League. Now, is Hipler those guys? No, he's not. But the reality of it is, you learn more about your own ranking evaluations in hindsight. I love being able to come back and say, hey, I told you guys so. But I got to admit here, that's one that I missed on. It's true. And that happens from time to time. You know, there are going to be some players out there, for one reason or another, they don't really acclimate to life and times in the SEC. And maybe they go somewhere else and do a better job. And I think maybe that's an article that we need to write here in the days to come, is who left Mississippi State and got better? Who left Mississippi State and found more production? Did they stay at the Power 5 level, the Power 4 level? Did they drop down a level? Is that what you attribute maybe their success to? Because I know Kevin Coleman didn't have as good a year at Missouri than he had at Mississippi State. And that's one of the things you begin to think about. How does that become a teaching tool or a recruiting tool for Mississippi State to be able to say, hey, these guys came in, they had career years with us, decided to go elsewhere and chase a little cash, and then they regressed. And I think that's something we need to look into. There may be some guys out there that improve. So look for that column at some point this week. I may write it myself. I may farm it out to one of the other guys. But I think that's an important thing we need to look at. That's data that we need to evaluate, right? But I share that with you. I'm not always right. I'm not. The most difficult thing to do in life and in sports is to predict future human performance. And there's a lot of factors that go involved with all that. Some guys struggle in the classroom. Some guys struggle with discipline. Some guys struggle with just the physicality of the college level. And so it's difficult to know. Not everybody embraces the weight room early in their career the way they should. You can push and push and push, but you know what? If they're sitting up eating tacos every night at midnight, you know, ingesting things into their body that is counterintuitive to what they want to do, or counterproductive to what they want to do physically, you know, you can go out there and work hard every day, but you can't outwork a bad diet. And so there are guys out there that struggle with that aspect of it, the nutrition component. Once you put it all together, you got a pretty good player, right? So I wanted to share that ranking stuff with you because there's a lot of people that don't understand the 247 composite and the 247 ranking, right? So the 247 Sports ranking is what our evaluators rate players. The composite is what everybody across the industry does. They just kind of come up with an industry average. And so a lot of times, because we have our network name on the 247 composite, ESPN or On3 or somebody like that could make an adjustment to their ranking, and it negatively impacts the 247 Sports composite. And people say, oh, 247 dropped the ranking. No, we didn't. I had a discussion on the message board today about that, and people just don't understand. It's not anything about I know more than you. I'm just trying to explain how the process works. Somebody said, oh, Braylon Womack dropped 2 days in a row, or the last couple of days. And I said, no, he didn't, because the only update at 247 happened today. And so they went and screenshot it and sent what they were looking at. And again, this is about educating, right? He sends it to me, and it's actually the composite. And then I'm able to give the screenshot of what 247 actually did. So I like the composite, but sometimes I don't like having our name on it, and because people don't fully understand that. So kind of give you some updates there. So I'm happy with the class. I'm not thrilled with the class. I do think we have some pieces. I wish we had done better in state within the class, but that's the product of having back-to-back losing seasons, right? We got to win some ball games. It's a chicken and egg thing, but you got to have a chicken before you can have the eggs when it comes to college football. It's just kind of how things work. Now, I want to remind you guys too, True Rest Float Spa is doing great. We're going to have a special event this Friday out in front of True Rest Float Spa of Starkville. My friends at Loblolly Bakery in Hattiesburg, Mississippi, are going to do a king cake pop-up starting at 11 a.m. on Friday until supplies are exhausted. They're going to bring a bunch of king cakes, but it's not going to last forever. So we have offered to let them sell in front of our spa, and because, again, they are our friends. So if you are interested in having a fantastic king cake, you can purchase one this Friday. True Rest Float Spa of Starkville. And while you're there, let me encourage you, Valentine's Day gift, we got you covered. You get 2 floats for $99. So just walk in, tell Dana, hey, I want to get the Valentine's special. And maybe it's a his and her date night deal, or you can give both of the floats to her. Completely up to you. You know, once you buy the floats, it's up to you who uses them. So come back, grab a king cake, and then take advantage of that. We can make a lot of your shopping for Valentine's Day a lot easier. It's a very unique experience. I think in the last, so today's a half day. Let's just go Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We floated over 70 people Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, it can't just be me and Dana, right? And so I think you guys are kind of beginning to understand there's a lot of benefit. It was a group that was so hesitant. I got a chance to see them on Friday or Saturday. We went there to help Dana a little bit. Everybody walks out like, oh my gosh, that was incredible. Their first time floating. The first time I floated, I bought a franchise. I did that because I wanted my friends and neighbors to have the experience, because nothing has been better for my anxiety than this. My lovely wife has had all kind of lower back pain, and that's a lot of years of walking the floor at the hospital. Her back pain is gone. Her insomnia is gone, and my anxiety is much better than it ever has been. So it's an opportunity for you. Come check it out. You can call 662-268-7601 for more information, and you can even purchase that Valentine's Day special over the phone. Come join us over at genespage.com, and if you haven't done so, you can get signed copies of all of my books, all my sports titles, and the personal memoir, When the Bottom Falls, by visiting dutynoblebook.com. That's a great Valentine's Day gift, too, for the Bulldog fans in your life that read or maybe just want to have it to put on display in their fan cave. You know, I would encourage you to read it, because I put a lot of time and effort into these books, but you're going to learn a lot. I learned a lot as I began to kind of work through this, and the writing process for the children's book is underway now. I hope to have that wrapped up here by the end of the month, and then they'll illustrate it, and we'll push it out for publishing, and have something different and new that maybe you weren't expecting from me. And people ask me, why a children's book? I want my grandchildren to have something from me. But also, too, I think I got a cool story. Got a cool story. It's a lot of fun. And yes, there will be a couple of Bulldogs in the book. Yeah. The book is entitled Mojo's Great Escape. And Mojo, obviously, has been my co-writer for 7 books. She's laid at my feet as I've worked at this desk. And my children have kind of guilted me into this. They say, Daddy, you don't even give her writing credit. Well, she's my girl, and I love her to death. And so I thought, hey, let's write a book and make her the star. So she may not get an acknowledgement, but she'll get her own book. And the title is Mojo's Great Escape. And basically, Mojo moves to the country, and hilarity ensues. But it's also a good lesson, too. But, hey, thank you guys so much for your support of the Boneyard. We look forward to being back with you on Wednesday. And reminder, Friday, 11 a.m., Loblolly Bakery, King Cake Pop-Up at True Rest Float Spa of Starkville. We're gonna push that on socials, but I want to make sure you guys know as well. Things will go quickly, right? They will go quickly. 11 o'clock, that's when it's going to start. It's not going to last all day, so you need to be prepared for that. Until next time, let's all live our lives in a way we make more friends than enemies, and people can see a difference in the way we live.